132 for that. 132.
Our tape will actually begin out at the plant at Palmdale, California. And here we see Columbia in the work stands at Palmdale. The modifications out there included about 133 modifications and upgrades. This is on the flight deck where we see the old analog cockpit dials and gauges have been removed in exchange for the new glass cockpit. This is on the aft. Backing away now from Palmdale, taxiing out to the runway for the departure for the flight to Florida. And this is video en route. And now Columbia is at Kennedy Space Center, landing gear being lowered. 747 in the background. This was in March 2001 as it returned to KSC. It's now in this image in OPF Bay 3, and there was a window inspection going on there that we saw. And now some of the astronauts here doing the crew equipment interface test. They're checking out some of the tools that will be in the payload bay that will be used by the astronauts during their spacewalks. Astronauts, they're actually in the payload bay looking at the restraints and the areas that the tools are stowed. This is the final engine going into Columbia. This is engine number 3. We can see the plumbing inside the orbiter in the main engine compartment. And the engine is being put into position in preparation for closeouts. This now is the pushback out of the hangar out of OPF Bay 3, the rollover, which occurred earlier this year on January the 16th. And Columbia was rolled a brief quarter mile over to the vehicle assembly building in preparation for mating to the external tank and solid rocket boosters. It's OPF Bay 3, where Columbia spent almost a year. Columbia now entering the transfer aisle on the north end of the vehicle assembly building. That's the lifting sling that will be attached. Columbia's on the orbiter transporter. And this is rollout, going out to the launch pad on January the 28th. Crawler there moving along the 3.2 miles out to pad 39A at about 0.8 of a mile an hour. Columbia now approaching the ramp, and the computerized leveling system on the crawler transporter will keep Columbia level as it goes up the incline. And the total time from the time rollout began until it arrived at pad 39A and was hard down was just over 6 hours. And there There's the orbiter access arm that will be rotated in position once Columbia is firmly hard down on the launcher pedestals.
Seconds. 11, 10, 9, 8, 7. We have a go for main engine start. 5, 3, 2, 1. We have booster ignition and liftoff of Space Shuttle Columbia with a multitude of national and international space research experience.
Houston now controlling the flight of Columbia. The international research mission finally underway.
Roger, roll, Columbia.
Columbia now rolling on to the proper azimuth for a 39-degree inclination to orbit. Shuttle in a heads-down, wings level position for the 8.5-minute ride to orbit. 30 seconds into the flight, the 3 liquid fuel main engines beginning to throttle back in a 3-step fashion to 72% of rated performance, reducing the stress on the shuttle as it breaks through the sound barrier. Columbia already 2.5 miles downrange from the Kennedy Space Center, 4.5 miles in altitude. The main engines beginning to rev up to full throttle, 104% of rated performance.
Columbia, Houston, your go at throttle up.
We copy, go and throttle up.
The throttle up call acknowledged by Commander Rick Husband, joined on the flight deck by pilot Willie McCool, flight engineer Colton Chawla, and mission specialist Dave Brown. Mission Specialist Laurel Clark, Payload Commander Mike Anderson, and Payload Specialist Ilan Ramon seated down on the middeck. 1 minute, 26 seconds into the flight. Columbia 10 miles downrange, 13 miles in altitude, traveling at 1,800 miles an hour. It's away from solid rocket booster separation, everything looking good on board Columbia. Solid rocket booster separation confirmed. Guidance now converging. Columbia's onboard computers commanding the main engine nozzles to gently swivel, aiming the shuttle for a precise target in space for main engine cutoff. Columbia now 43 miles downrange, 35 miles in altitude, traveling 3,200 miles an hour. The propulsion officer and mission control reporting that the orbital maneuvering system engines have ignited, providing Columbia with a boost uphill for the next 90 seconds. .57 miles downrange. Everything aboard Columbia in great shape. 3 good main engines, 3 good auxiliary power units, 3 good fuel cells.
Engine Maroon.
We copy, 2 engine Maroon.